Hi, my name is Joseph Warren,
My name is David Brewer,
and we went today over to the North Shore to talk about the rising rates of teen depression.
and this is what we found.
The North Shore, home to 2 suspension bridges, the grouse grind, extremely unaffordable housing, and lots of people who can afford it. You'd think that with all that money, they couldn't possibly have any mental health problems, but they do.
What we're looking at in our community is a quite Byzantine structure in terms of how healthcare is administered for kids and youth with psychiatric disorders. So you've got the Ministry of Health that has its own infrastructure, and you've got the Ministry of Children and Family Development that has its own infrastructure. And so what we hear from the clinicians and from the families, and now from the BC representative for children and youth, is that this has really created a labyrinth that makes it very difficult for kids, certainly, and for families to know how to begin to find the help that they need. Right? So there's an urgent need for simplification. The problem that the BC representative for children and youth identified, which is that the system itself is traumatizing. That's her word. There's a lot that can be done to humanize it that isn't being done.
But what can be done to humanize the system, I thought? Surely before the problem of humanizing the system can be approached, we first need to provide for those most at risk. We thought to check the present availability of help, and were disappointed to find a chronic shortage of mental health care providers and beds in the North Shore. That's when we learned about the Hope Center. The Hope Center is a psychiatric facility presently under construction as an add-on to Lionsgate Hospital that will add 26 new beds for patients in need of psychiatric help. Certainly that has to be a good start.
We have a brand new, built through private foundation money, a brand new psychiatric building that's gone up at Lionsgate Hospital. The 3rd floor is vacant. And, I'm sure that the government, with all of its resources for research, has the data that we've got to show this hockey stick in terms of the increase of suicidal kids in our community. But they've decided to wait for 3 years before considering whether or not to put psychiatric beds for kids and youth into that building. There are at present no psychiatric beds for kids and youth on the North Shore.
No beds at all on the North Shore? That doesn't sound good at all. Surely the government has a decent contingency plan in place as a stopgap while deliberations are going on.
The system tries, if it can, to push them off to Children's Hospital. There's a 1-year wait time to get into the emergency psychiatric ward at Children's Hospital. If a teen is in distress, they have the practice in urgent situations of putting that teen into the adult psych ward. So you put a 17-year-old girl with an anxiety disorder into an unlocked adult psych ward, and you have opened up a world of hurt for her.
But wait a minute. Let's shift gears here a second. How could we possibly know what it's like if we haven't heard from someone who served on the front lines?
I was a depression sufferer for on and off since I was about 14 years old. A long time I equated it with just teenage angst and the like. A lot of life changes, a lot of life transitions that people go through. But I realized that it was affecting my daily functioning. And so I didn't seek help until I got into university. At least I tried to seek help through therapy, but being a student and being in a low-income bracket, it's very hard to get treatment. Most of the psychologists that you would encounter already have patients. In terms of a sliding scale, they still ask for $100 an hour. And that's why most people resort to medication, because it's less expensive. And the way that our healthcare system works, people are more likely to dispense of meds than actually offer therapy.
Aha! We'd uncovered a disturbing trend. A system of government that prefers to treat the disease rather than provide impetus for prevention. We began to wonder just what other barriers that depression sufferers regularly faced, and we were saddened but not at all surprised by what we found.
The culture is just so stigmatizing. And so I think the most immediate thing we can do, human to human, forget citizen to citizen, human to human, is to create that space for us to register with each other the importance of mental health, and register with each other that this is something that doesn't necessarily happen automatically. So, you know, Hillary Clinton sent a note to William and Kate saying it takes a royal village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to raise a human being. And right now, we've got a lot of work to do in making that a maximally humanizing space.
But how do you fight stigma? How do we bridge the divide between each other long enough to challenge these dominant ideas surrounding mental illness? What can we do? What should we do?
The same kind of sensibility that we bring to issues of sexual orientation, let's say, let's open that up. So let's have a pride movement for mental health as well, where it's okay to build the relationships that we need to have to talk about our mental health and to support each other in living a richer and freer life.